A few weeks ago, we made acorn flour in my toilet tank, which was quite an experience. But this time, we're trying to cook with it. I picked out 3 different recipes that I thought would work with my acorn flour, and the results were pretty varied. But let's take a look. I chose macarons because they have an almond flour base. Acorns are different than almonds, obviously, but I was hoping that they would act kind of similar in a recipe. 100 grams of egg whites and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Heat these while stirring over a double boiler until the sugar is dissolved for Swiss meringue. This helps stabilize the meringue a bit. Then whip it up until stiff peaks form. Sift in 100 grams of powdered sugar and 100 grams of acorn flour. Fold these gently into the meringue.
You fold it in.
Then pipe them out onto a cookie sheet. I have this thing. It came from one of my kids' baking kits, and it's got a little star nozzle on it. I don't have piping bags or tips. I should look into getting one, I guess, because this thing didn't work too well. Let them dry until they're no longer tacky on top for about an hour. Then put them in the oven at 325 degrees for about 12 to 13 minutes. I made a chocolate buttercream icing and used it to sandwich the pieces together. All in all, I think they turned out pretty well. They aren't pretty, but they were eaten up within a day, and the texture was pretty spot on. A delicate, crisp shell with a chewy center. The taste was a little bit different than using almond flour, but I think especially paired with the chocolate, it was delicious. I'll do a couple things differently next time. Well, first of all, the texture and the taste were excellent, but you could still feel a few little particles in there, so I need to get a grain grinder to get my acorn flour finer. Also, that extruder that I used wasn't great. I need to get some piping bags like a real adult. I was riding high on my macaron success, so I decided to try bread. Why not? I make homemade bread all the time. Surely if I stuck with another almond flour-based recipe, I could get another success under my belt. This one combines 5 eggs, 5 tablespoons of melted and cooled butter, 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, 7 ounces of acorn flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a pinch of salt, and I popped it in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. And it turned out like this. Now, this isn't the recipe's fault. This might be because when I ended up frustrated by the cold water leaching method, I ended up boiling my acorns. Remember me saying this? I don't know if I need starches, but we don't have them anymore. Yeah, I might have needed those starches.
I hope you're not thinking of feeding that to us.
This bread got 0 stars from everyone in my family. I ended up putting it outside for the squirrels, who didn't particularly like it either. I was feeling a little defeated by bread, so I returned to something that I was sure I could get to work. Cookies. Amaretti cookies, to be exact. These are also made with almond flour and whipped egg whites, so I figured my odds were good. 1 1/4 cups of acorn flour, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, a pinch of salt, 1 large egg white, maybe pick the shells out, 1/8 teaspoon of lemon juice. Whip to soft peaks. Incorporate this into the flour sugar mix. Now these aren't as delicate as macarons, so I'll pretty much be kneading these like bread. But after trying to incorporate these together, I realized that maybe the acorn flour was absorbing the moisture from the eggs a lot more than I thought it should. I didn't really have dough at this point, I had wet sand. So I whipped up another egg white. Whoops, another egg. And added it in. This time, at least I could get it to form balls. So I coated them in powdered sugar and threw them in the oven, preheated to 300 degrees. I left them in for about 30 minutes. These turned out okay. Like, they're edible. I'd eat them if I was starving. I'm not starving, so I didn't. I really like my husband's review. I think the family consensus was like 2.5 stars. My youngest and my husband liked them okay, but my oldest and I did not. So, 3 recipes. 1 success, 1 failure, and 1 eh. Here's the thing, I'm working with acorn flour that I made myself, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Making acorn flour is hard, and it's not because acorns themselves are hard to work with, it's just because it's not a knowledge that a lot of people have. Acorns fall everywhere, but when I try to turn them into food, I'm on my own. There's not a lot of local knowledge that I can lean on. Nobody that I can really ask for help in my area for how to do this. Instead, I've had to rely on scattered information from the internet. Traditional foodways are built on generations of practice, and when you don't have that anymore, it can feel isolating and you're left guessing. It makes it really hard to know if you're doing it right. I think my next step is going to be to buy some acorn flour that somebody else has processed. I'm pretty sure I can find it on the internet, but I want to taste it and compare it to my acorn flour and see how it measures up and make sure that I'm not the broken variable here. I'm also going to retest these recipes and maybe some others and see what I can get to turn out.